They all laughed when she opened the courtroom doors, a 17-year-old girl in sneakers and a hand-me-down blazer holding a backpack instead of a briefcase. Their laughter echoed through the wood-paneled walls like a storm of arrogance, because who brings a child into federal court? Especially alone, she looked too young, too small, too soft to matter her voice, too quiet to carry weight. But then she stepped forward, and everything changed, Your Honor, she said, with eyes that did not blink and a voice that did not break. I am representing the man you are suing today. He is not just my client, he is my father. And what you are doing to him is wrong. The room went silent, the kind of silence you can feel in your ribs, even. The judge leaned forward, eyebrows raised. The opposing lawyers shifted in their seats. A few whispered, "Is this a joke?" But no one was laughing now. The truth is, this story started long before that courtroom. Long before she ever picked up a law book. It started on a cold October morning in a town. Most people only drive through when she was just 7 years old and watched men in suits carry her father away in handcuffs, while the neighbors stared from their windows and whispered about embezzlement, fraud, betrayal, words she didn't even understand then, but never forgot her father. Michael was a small-town accountant, a good man. Quiet, generous. The kind who left extra cookies in the mailbox for the mailman during Christmas, who paid for strangers' groceries without telling them, who helped neighbors do taxes for free, just because he could. But he made one mistake. He trusted the wrong partner. And when it all fell apart, when the company books showed millions missing, Michael took the blame because his partner vanished with the money, and Michael thought if he stayed silent, the truth would protect him. But the truth doesn't always matter in courtrooms filled with greed and power and loopholes. And Michael was convicted. He served 5 years in prison, 5 years while his daughter Anna grew up visiting him through glass, while kids at school whispered convict, orphan, thief, while her mother fell apart from stress. And the shame became louder than the truth. But Anna, she never stopped believing. She never stopped reading every paper, every court transcript, every banking document she could find. She turned her room into an archive, boxes filled with files, photos, red string, and notes taped to the wall. Because Anna was determined not to survive. She was determined to fight by the time she was 16. She had memorized enough civil law to debate her teachers by 17. She filed a formal motion to reopen her father's case, and when they laughed and dismissed her, she filed again and again, until one judge finally looked past her age and said, "Fine, show us what you have." And that brought her to this courtroom, to this moment, to this war of words where giants sat in leather chairs and thought they already won, because they never imagined their enemy would be a teenage girl with blistered feet and a fire in her chest. "Your Honor," she continued, "today you are being asked to grant damages to a corporation that laundered money and framed an innocent man. They are using old signatures, forged statements, falsified spreadsheets. I have all of it here in this backpack, and I will present it line by line if you give me the time." The lead attorney on the other side chuckled under his breath, arrogant, confident, a man who had worn the same smug expression in dozens of high-profile cases and won every single one. He stood up, buttoned his suit, and said, "Your Honor, this is absurd. This child is not a lawyer. This is an insult to the court." But the judge did not dismiss her. Not yet. Instead he said, "I will hear what she has to say for 10 minutes, and then I will decide if this hearing continues," and those 10 minutes changed everything. Anna stepped forward to the podium, hands trembling, but voice steady. And she began with the dates. She laid out the bank transfers, how they coincided with her father's vacation days, how the IP addresses matched only one terminal in the office, which was used by the missing partner. She showed emails, metadata, timestamps. She quoted contracts, verbatim. And when the judge interrupted, she corrected him respectfully, but firmly, and then kept going. The courtroom transformed. The smirks disappeared. The opposing team started scribbling notes. The spectators leaned in. The stenographer stopped typing for a beat because no one could believe what they were witnessing. A girl who had been dismissed, ignored, mocked, was now commanding the room, not with emotion, not with pity, but with undeniable evidence and the kind of focus that only comes from years of obsession, born from injustice. And then she said, "Your Honor, I have one final exhibit." This is a recorded phone call from 3 months ago between the missing partner and a private investigator. I hired, the call was legal. The investigator identified himself, and in this call the man admits that Michael Thorne was innocent, and that he manipulated the records to frame him. She pressed play and the courtroom froze. The voice was clear and undeniable. It confessed everything. And when the audio ended, the silence in the room was suffocating. The judge leaned back in his chair. Hands steepled, and for the first time he looked at Anna not as a child, not as a daughter, but as a force to be reckoned with. He said, "Miss Thorne, please approach the bench." She walked forward clutching her backpack, the same one she had carried for years through libraries and archives, through bus rides and courthouses. The one filled with the only thing she had ever owned that truly mattered. The truth. What happened next was not broadcast on television. No news crew captured the moment, but it would live forever in the memory of everyone present. The judge ordered the opposing attorneys to return the settlement funds and scheduled a formal review to overturn Michael's conviction. But more than that, he asked Anna, "What are your future plans?" And Anna looked him in the eye and said, "I want to become a defense attorney because nobody should have to grow up learning the law just to save their father." And that courtroom erupted into applause. Not because justice had finally been served, but because Hope had walked in wearing sneakers and holding a backpack, and reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest voice carries the loudest truth. After the courtroom emptied, after the handshakes and camera flashes and quiet gasps of disbelief, Anna sat on the courthouse steps in the fading afternoon light beside her father for the first time in years, without a wall of glass or a ticking clock between them. They didn't speak for a while. They didn't need to, because some victories are too big for words. Michael looked at his daughter, not as the little girl who once asked if prison made him a bad guy, but as the young woman who rewrote the story they told about him in courtrooms and papers and whispered rumors. She didn't just defend him. She resurrected him. And in that silence between them sat everything that had been taken and everything that had been reclaimed. Word spread quickly across town and beyond. Local reporters ran the story of the girl lawyer without a license. Headlines read, "Teenage girl exposes corporate fraud." 17-year-old clears her father's name, and overnight Anna became more than a daughter. She became a symbol. Letters poured in from other families, wrongfully accused people who said, "Your story gives me hope. Your story makes me believe again." Even a retired judge wrote to her saying, "In all my years I've never seen a more courageous act in a courtroom than what you did that day." Universities offered her early scholarships, law firms asked to mentor her. But Anna declined the spotlight because she wasn't chasing fame. She was chasing something much harder: to find accountability and healing. She spent the next year helping file paperwork to fully exonerate her father. They went back through every old ruling, every minute of prison time, every dollar lost, every opportunity stolen. And though no system can ever return the time taken from an innocent man, Anna made sure that the world knew who he was, who he really was. And yet what struck most people wasn't just the courtroom drama or the legal brilliance. It was the way Anna carried herself. Never bitter, never angry. She could have screamed at the system. She could have burned every bridge. Instead, she rebuilt them. She forgave people who didn't believe her. She thanked the judge who gave her 10 minutes, and she even spoke kindly of the man who tried to silence her in court. Because Anna understood something most people never do: when you fight for truth, you don't need to destroy others, you just need to reveal what they've hidden. A few months after the case, Michael received an unexpected phone call. The accounting board invited him to speak at a national ethics summit. The man they once labeled a fraud was now being asked to teach integrity, and he only said yes if he could bring Anna on stage with him. On the day of the summit, a packed auditorium fell silent as Anna stepped to the podium and said, "I'm not a lawyer, not yet, but I am living proof that justice isn't about who has the loudest voice or the biggest paycheck. Sometimes it's about who refuses to stop asking questions." The audience stood to their feet, and in that moment, a story that began with laughter ended in thunderous applause, because what those lawyers didn't know when she walked into court alone was that she carried with her something more powerful than any law degree: love, truth, and an unbreakable will. And as father and daughter walked off that stage, hand in hand, people didn't just see a victory. They saw a revolution. A reminder that justice isn't given, it's taken back, word by word, fact by fact, moment by moment. and somewhere in a small-town courthouse where it all began. A dusty file was closed, a name was cleared, and a father finally told his daughter, "Thank you for never giving up on me if you stayed with this story until the end. Thank you." Share it with someone who believes in second chances, who believes in family, who believes that one brave voice can still shake the walls of power. Because sometimes justice walks in quietly and changes everything forever. And if this story moved you even a little, if it made you believe again, in truth, in love, in quiet strength, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want to hear more stories like this, ones that start in silence and end in thunder that turn whispers into revolutions, then tap that subscribe button and stay with us. Because sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths, and you won't want to miss what comes next.